an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Red Rising Book 3, Morning Star, chapters 48 through 51, Imperator, Colossus, Thunder and Lightning, and Pandora. In these chapters, there's a moment here where I almost think maybe things between Cassian and Darrow can be repaired. I want to believe. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Ashley for commissioning this episode. Thank you, Ashley. You guys, I just need to tell you, because anybody who has listened to the show for any amount of time has run across me with my sort of vocal stimming, is the way I've started to think of it now, where anything that is said that reminds me of a song lyric or a quote from a movie, it's like I can't help but then repeat that song lyric or that, or sing that like line from the song. And this ship being called Colossus is a particularly hard one for me to not constantly just say a certain way, because there is an X-Men video game, I think it is, that it's on it's a cabinet game, like at an arcade, that Owen and I played a bunch. And the character in that, Colossus, every time he makes a move, he just says, Colossus, Colossus, Colossus. And so now, anytime I hear that word, like if we're together, one of us has to say it that way every time. Recently, he mentioned the word Colossus and there was a pause and I said Colossus and then he said thank you and continued on with his sentence. Like it's like at that level. So I just need you guys to know how much I am physically restraining myself. Oh God. So y'all, last episode, somehow I managed to end with a little bit of extra time, and I just couldn't help but read on into the next chapter because I just have no self-control when it comes to this sort of thing sometimes. And it was such a ride. If you've listened to that, you know that I went from thinking this is a good thing to maybe it's a bad thing to back to it's a good thing. I was all over the place on this. And I stand by that because, I think that's part of it, is just not quite being sure where things stand. But I am going to pick things up right around where I left off. So we have that massive explosion that he had warned Roque, tell your people to pull back, and Roque wouldn't do it. And then when Roque refuses, then he loses all these men, and he says, why didn't you just use our guns? You could have crippled them. And it's like, he tried to tell you, dude, people seem to think that Darrow is much more about the symbolic, not even symbolic, almost like they think that he's much more into the petty victories than he really is. It's like they just really have a wrong understanding of his character. And it surprises me with Roque that he's just so shocked after that. Oh, there was a real reason you told me to do that. Yeah, dude, he's not the type to waste his breath or do what do they call that? He doesn't bluff often. There's been times, but it has been really pretty rare. So it ended, I think I ended with, we both know the plan only works because I have 100,000 obsidians and he does not. And yeah, and there's no getting out. Time to do the right thing. I know it's been a while. That's Victor talking. And when he says, destroy what's left of my honor, and she's like, your fucking honor? Are you really talking to me about that? Well, after I got tortured for a year? Really? And she's like, not being clever here. She is really starting to lose it because she can't believe the gall, which that is the right reaction, in my opinion. And, you know, he's just like, well, I swore an oath to protect the societies and civilization. And she's like, come the fuck on, man. And he says, it's not about them. It's not about me. Not every life is meant to be warm. Sometimes the cold is our duty. You'll never be what Darrow wants. You have to know that. You think I'm here for him? Then it's revenge? No, it's more than that. Who are you trying to fool? Him or yourself? I really don't like this. I don't like it for so many reasons. First of all, I don't like feeling as if Victra's on the back foot. Just period. I like Victra. She has a very legitimate grievance here. And I want Roque to see like how incredibly fucked up the way he is, like, and this is the thing. When you're dealing with a person like Roque, they won't see. They believe what they're doing is the right thing. And that's like, you can't fight that, really. You know what I mean? So I know that there's really no point to me wanting this thing, but I am somebody who always desperately wishes to be understood. And so I will like over explain things. I just don't like the fact that he manages to like throw her off with his question about like, who are you trying to fool, him or yourself? I don't, at any time, and this is just like my personal experience, but ladies out there, have you ever like encountered this sort of dude who really thinks that he like knows your psychology and tries to tell you about yourself in a moment that is so infuriating it makes you just want to tear his head off his neck? Like, I'm setting aside as I'm talking like this whether or not he's right or wrong. I don't even want to like get into that part yet. I'm just talking about the audacity upon audacity in this scene of him being like shocked that he lost all those men after he was fucking warned, and then the talking about his honor, and then trying to act like he knows what she's about. It's just so presumptuous and so like egotistical. And if we are going to talk about whether he's right or not, who cares? Like, that's the thing for me, is I don't care whether she's here for Darrow or she's here for revenge. She's here, and that's about where I want to be. I want Victra with us. That's it. I don't need to know her reasoning, and I don't feel like she's ever out here, like, pushing things with Darrow. She knows that he is into Mustang. She had kind of thought maybe there could be something, and he let her down easy about it, and she has, like, it seems mostly accepted that. And if she hasn't, then, you know, that's her thing to deal with. But bringing it up here, it's just so pathetic, and it's so frustrating that she manages to, like, she kind of falls for it. And I say it that way because what it feels like to me is happening is that Roque is, like, attempting to sort of sideline the rage and put her on the defensive in a very obvious way. I didn't want her to go for that bait. And it really feels like she did, like, completely, you know? So I hated all of this. And then Roque says, if you care so much for life, tell yours to stop firing. Tell them to fall in line and understand that life isn't free. It isn't without sacrifice. If all take what they want, how long will it be till there's nothing left? And Darrow is being a lot more, like, compassionate about how he sees Roque. My friend has always had his own way of things, his own tides that come in and out. It is not in his nature to hate, nor was it in mine. Our worlds made us what we are, and all this pain we suffer is to fix the folly of those who came before. And he says, all this, was she so lovely? Yes, she was like you, a dreamer. I had a moment where I was like, who? What do you mean? And then I realized she was talking about his wife. And then it becomes pretty clear he's intending to kill himself. Darrow tries to be like, you do not have to do this. And he's like, this armada was called Invincible, and you just beat it. There is absolutely no way I can go on showing my face after this. And Roque is saying, my heart breaks for all you have suffered, but the only solace was my duty. And now that has been robbed from me. All the remittance I've attempted to make gone. I love the society. I love my people. Can't you see that? I can. And you love yours. It's not judgment, not forgiveness that he gives me. It's just a smile. I cannot watch mine fade. I cannot watch it all burn. It won't. It will. Our age is ending. I feel the days shortening, the brief light dimming upon the kingdom of man. And as he said this, I was like, oh my God, can we fucking speed this along a little bit? Like, after everything, I just have so little patience for him at this point, and I couldn't help but giggle at the fact that he says, the brief light dimming upon the kingdom of man. Darrow interrupts with Roque, and Victor says, let him do it, from behind him. You guys, this is what I'm trying. This is why I love her so much, because this is exactly what it feels like. It's like he is gearing up to monologue. He has it all memorized. He's ready to go. Just let him say it. Just let him do his thing. And it says, I hate her for being so cold even now. How can she not see that beneath his deeds he's a good man? He's still our friend despite what he's done to us. Darrow, I don't think she doesn't see that, actually. I don't think she doesn't see that he's, like, in his way, a good man, in quotes. And I'm putting that very much in quotes. He's saying he's still our friend. That right? Cassie's here in the chat saying, how is he still my friend? And I'm like, that's the question. But honestly, I feel like Victor understands the way that Darrow sees Roque and the way Roque sees himself. And she is fooling herself less than Darrow is. Usually, I feel like people are sort of failing to hop on the compassion train with Darrow, and they're letting themselves be sort of ruled by more petty emotions or immediate feelings rather than looking long term. But this is a scenario in which I am much more like, this man has delivered you the head of one of your best friends' fathers in a box, and watched all of your friends get taken down and put you in a box. Like, what he did, it wasn't just for the societies. It was a type of theatrical that feels gleeful. And maybe you could argue that's coming from the Jackal. You know, you could say it wasn't even Roque that came up with the plan to do it this way. The Jackal decided to do it this way. And I might even believe you. But the thing is, Roque aligned himself with somebody like the Jackal after all the things that we have seen that dude to be capable of, Roque was willing to go on and be on the same side as that guy. And as far as I am concerned, that's a wrap on that. Once you, like, align yourself with that kind of person, and then you try and talk about the societies, why do you think that's what you're fighting for after everything that you, like, I kind of wanted in this moment for Darrow to bring up the secret weapons, like, depots and stuff that all the data that they brought up when they were negotiating with oh my god, I keep wanting to say Coriolanus, and I think it starts with a C, but I can't remember his name. But, you know, like, he was clearly caught off guard by all of this data, and granted, the way that Darrow and Mustang were presenting it, they were misrepresenting purposely what all of it meant. But even so, I really wanted Darrow to press him and be like, they're doing a bunch of shit without even, like, letting you know. You think you're working with a certain class of person, and you just found out that they are hiding significant shit from you, and you're still willing to just throw yourself in with that. Like, what Roque is trying to pretend is that he's fighting for an ideal, but he isn't. He imagines he's fighting for an ideal because that comforts him, but he is fighting for the power to go to people who have just shown the world what they're capable of, and seems to really think that is a better way for the world to be structured and exist. And if you really believe that, your judgment is so profoundly and deeply flawed that there's no help for you. I'm sorry, but Roque, he's still a good man, he's still our friend. I don't really see it. And I think Victra is, like, aware Darrow is viewing him this way, and it pisses her off, and I think she's right to be mad about it. He tries to say, I'm sorry for what happened, Victra. And again, I fucking hate that passive voice. This is the classic approach of people who refuse to take responsibility, is instead of saying, I did something awful to you, they say, I'm sorry for what happened. I'm sorry for how things went down. That's a particular favorite. It's the biggest cop-out. It is, like, such a sign of cowardice. And the fact that Roque is using this language, and Darrow apparently isn't even, like, hearing it or seeing it. He's just, I feel like he is in this, like, weird delusion. And at this point, it doesn't really matter. Roque is going to take himself out, and, you know, what's going to happen is going to happen. So whether or not Darrow is fooling himself ultimately is a moot point. But it just really, I don't like him trying to suggest, the way that he seems to be here, that Victra should look past what Roque has done to them, as if that is simply an expectation. She went through a horrific trauma, and if she wants to hold a grudge, she gets to. That's it, dude. You don't get to tell her how to handle herself around the person who was one of the key figures in orchestrating the takedown of her and her friends and family. You just don't get to be mad at her right now. I'm sorry. Get it together, Darrow, you know? So, you know, he does the whole, like, I need you, you can work with us, and he just has to do his fucking... You guys, he has to recite poetry to him. Like, this is the most cringy death. I step toward him thinking I can take his razor from his hand without killing him, but he knows my intention and he holds up his offhand plaintively, as if to comfort me and beg me the mercy of letting him die as he lived. Be still. Night hangs upon mine eyes. He looks to me, eyes full with tears. Keep swimming, my friend, I tell him. With a gentle nod, he wraps his razor whip around his throat and stiffens his spine. I am Roque Fabii of the gens Fabii. My ancestors walked upon red Mars. They fell upon old Earth. I have lost the day, but I have not lost myself. I will not be a prisoner. His eyes close, his hand trembles. I am the star in the night sky. I am the blade in the twilight. I am the god, the glory. I am the gold. I guess. You think an awful lot of yourself, Roque. That's all I'm saying. And it's really, you are an intelligent guy. You are a talented guy. But you really needed somebody to take you in hand when you were younger and stop you from really thinking that I am the god. Are you really? Wow. Okay. You're just... This is one of those where I'm just like, I feel like the author wanted me to feel something here, and I wasn't. And maybe that's part of the point, is maybe we aren't supposed to, but I just... Victra is less shaken than I. You think? So he is standing, over Roque's corpse, and she is the one moving forward with taking command of everything. Does anyone contest the ship now belongs to the Rising? Good. Follow orders and you'll keep your post. If you can't follow orders, stand up now and you'll be a prisoner of war. If you say you can follow orders but don't, we shoot you in the head. Choose. And all of a sudden, we have Orion and Daxo saying, Victra, where's Darrow? And she says, here, have you heard from Virginia? And they say a third of the enemy fleet is boarded. Virginia is aboard an escape pod about to be picked up by the Echo of Ismenia. Severo's in the halls of their secondary flagship. Periodic reports. He's making headway. Telemonuses and Ra are pinching. An even match, Daxo says. We'll need the Colossus to tilt the odds. My father and sisters have boarded the Pandora. They're striking for Antonia. So Sephi approaches Darrow here and is kind about everything with Roque, but I'm really not going to spend that much time on this because I just don't like Roque and I don't care. I'm just not interested. So Victra realizes that her sister is abandoning everybody and is bailing. She's taking off so that she can save herself, and she's really pissed. Of course, her immediate instinct is to chase her down. We're going to get her. And then Darrow steps in and is like, hold on. We have something else we can do. It says, bridge shield down. I ignore the wrathful woman's glare and walk past Roque's body to peer into the blackness of space. Holiday, recall all available infantry to protect the bridge and make safe the vessel. Sephi, make sure no one gets through that door. Helmsman, set course for Ganymede. Do not make any society ships aware the bridge is taken. Do I make myself clear? No broadcasts. And what he decides is to pretend they haven't yet taken the Colossus, that they are still on their way, and that they are watching in helpless horror as Roque heads for the docks of Ganymede. Romulus, that's the name I was looking for. I will, but Romulus, he has nukes on board. What if it's not just the docks he's going for? Romulus pales. Stop him. Please, your people are down there too. I remove my helmet. My men stare at me. They haven't heard the conversation, but they know what I'm doing now. You're going to destroy Romulus dockyards around Ganymede. Holy shit, Holiday mutters. Holy shit. I'm not destroying anything. I'm fighting my way through the corridors, trying to reach the bridge. Roque is ordering this move as his last act of violence before I claim his command. Victra's eyes light up, but even she has reservations. If Romulus finds out, if he even suspects, he'll fire on our forces and everything we've won today goes to ash. And who will tell him? I look around the bridge. Who will tell him? I look to Holiday. If anyone sends a signal out, shoot them in the head. Wipe the video memory of the whole ship. If I ruin Ganymede's dockyards, the Rim won't be able to threaten us for 50 years. Romulus is an ally today, but I know he will threaten the core if the Rising succeeds. If I must give Roque for this victory, if I must give the suns on these moons, I will take something in return. I look down. Red boot prints follow my path. I didn't even realize I'd stepped in Roque's blood. I do like that. It's a heavy-handed metaphor, but I still liked it. So yeah, this is pretty cold-blooded. Like, it's a definite brilliant move. It's the right thing to do. I cannot help but think this may come back to bite him. But then the whole conversation later, it seems like they're not friends anyway, so what difference does it make? This is a moment when they finally reach the docks and Sephi sees it all. Darrow comments on how this is the first time she's really ever seen her look afraid. That the sheer scale of this place is so beyond anything she has ever seen before. It's like looking at a monster. There's still going to be thousands of reds on there, Holiday says quietly to me. Oranges, blues, grays. He knows that, Victra says. Holiday doesn't leave my side. You sure you want to do this, sir? Want to? I ask hollowly. Since when has any of this been about what we want? And he's about to give the order, and Victra interrupts and says, you know what, let me go ahead and do it. I'll take the brunt of this one. It's a crime that the Marvel should die like this. No song, nothing but silence, and the unblinking gaze of the stars to herald the end of one of the great monuments of the Golden Age. And I hear in the back of my mind that age-old truth of darkness whispering to me. Death begets death begets death. The moment is sadder than I wanted. So I turn to Sephi as the dock continues to fall apart, the shattered bits drifting down to the moon where they will fall into the sea or upon the cities of Ganymede. The ship must be renamed. I would like you to choose. And she chooses Tir Morga, which means morning star. So then, chapter 50. Thunder and lightning. The Sword Armada shattered, more than half destroyed, a quarter seized by my ships. Mustang is beside herself with worry for Cavax, though she makes a brave face. I've not slept since the battle 2 days ago. All we have left between me and Romulus is this hollow conference. As promised, you have your independence, I say. And you have your ships, he replies. Marble columns stretch up behind him, carved with Ptolemaic effigies. He's on Ganymede, in the Hanging Palace, the heart of their civilization. But they will not be enough to defeat the core. The Ash Lord will be waiting for you. I hope so. I have plans for his master. Do you sail on Mars? Perhaps. He allows a thoughtful silence. There's one thing I find curious about the battle. Of all the ships my men boarded, not one nuclear weapon over 5 megatons was found, despite your claims, despite your evidence. My men found plenty enough, I lie. Come aboard if you doubt me. It's hardly curious they would store them on the Colossus. Roque would want to keep them under tight watch. We're only lucky I managed to take the bridge when I did. Docks can be rebuilt. Lives cannot. Did they ever have them? Romulus asks. Would I risk the future of my people on a lie? I smile without humor. Your moons are safe. You define your own future now. Do not look the gift horse in the mouth. Indeed, he says, though he sees through the lie now, knows he was manipulated. But it is the lie he must sell to his own people if he wants peace. They cannot afford to go to war with me now, but their honor would demand it if they knew what I'd done. And if they went to war with me, I would likely win. I have more ships now, but they'd hurt me bad enough to ruin my real war against the Corps. So Romulus swallows my lies, and I swallow the guilt of leaving hundreds of millions in slavery and personally signing the death warrants of thousands of sons of Ares to Romulus police. I gave them warning, but not all will escape. I would like your fleet to depart before end of day, Romulus says. It will take 3 days to search the debris for our survivors. We will leave then. Very well. My ships will escort your fleet to the boundaries we agreed upon. When your flagship crosses into the asteroid belt, you may never return. If one ship under your command crosses that boundary, it will be war between us. I remember the terms. See that you do. Give my regards to the Corps. I'll certainly give yours to the sons of Ares you leave behind. He terminates the signal. You guys, I realized a few episodes ago that I didn't really talk about him giving up the sons of Ares for very long. And I think the reason why is because it's such an awful thing that I didn't want to discuss it. It's so, the implications of doing this are so grim and terrible. And it's done without any real warning to us as readers that this was even on the table. He just blurts out, I'll give you the sons of Ares in the midst of this negotiation. And I'm like, what does that mean? And then I'm sort of already in my brain as I'm reading this, kind of equivocating. Well, maybe he doesn't really mean what it sounds like, or maybe he's got a fake list that he can give them, and then to find out that it's exactly what it sounds like. This is the sort of thing I don't know if I can forgive of a main character. I really don't. You are putting these people in the crosshairs. That's not even adequate. Crosshairs for some of them, but there are going to be some that they're the kinds of torture that they're going to endure. The guilt of that in comparison to an outright battle, there's no contest at all. A battle with people who are here to fight because they believe in their side, or there's a feeling of consent to that. And it's those people either die or they sustain terrible injuries and either survive or don't. But the torture, it's you're putting them into a position to just suffer as long as their enemies feel like making them suffer. And for what? I don't even know. Trying to get information? Maybe. Or just for the hell of it. And, I really am, shook about it. And I think that's why I just sort of slid right past talking about it. Because there isn't any part of me that feels okay with this. I can't even, because I don't really know what other options there were for Darrow. I can't weigh them against each other. It's this was just dropped onto the page like a bomb. And him telling Darrow here that he's going to make sure to let them all know that Darrow gave them up. I can't help but think maybe you're going to have to start to be even more afraid of your own side soon than the other people that you're, you know what I mean? I just really, I don't like any of this at all. And I wish I had known and gotten to see how Darrow came to this decision to even put it on the table. So they finally depart, and it says, victories are less romantic when you're cleaning your friends off the floor. It's easy to be bold in the moment because all you have is what you can process, see, smell, feel, taste, and that's a very small amount of what is. But afterward, when everything decompresses and uncoils bit by bit, and the horror of what you did and what happened to your friends hits you, it's overwhelming. That's the curse of this naval war. You fight, then spend months waiting, engaged only by the tedium of routine, and then you fight again. I've not yet told my men where we will sail. They don't ask me themselves, but their officers do. And again I give them the same answer, where we must. So they haven't gotten to contact with the Sons of Ares. It's been blacked out, which means Neril is destroying relays. And then there's the burial of Roque. And I do appreciate, as much as he tries to give him a respectful burial, he says that he made sure not a lot of people know. Like, he says, we say goodbye to him in secret. With so many of our own dead, it would not do to see me honor an enemy so deeply. Few mourn the death of my friend. Roque, if he is remembered by his people, will forever be known as the man who lost the fleet. A modern Gaius Terentius Varro, the fool who let Hannibal encircle him at Cannae, or Alfred Jones, the American general who went mad and lost his Imperium's dreaded mech division in the Conquering. I am really curious if he's got stories written for those already. To my people, he is just another Gold who thought himself immortal till the Reaper showed him otherwise. It's a lonely thing, carrying the body of someone dead and loved, like a vase you know will never again hold flowers. I liked that line. I wish Roque would have thought he was going to a better world, but he died believing only in gold, and anything that believes only in itself cannot go happily into the night. So, this, the funeral here, he decides to let Cassius come, and Cassius seems genuinely grateful for this later. Kisses him on the brow. Severo, pitiless even now, slams shut the metal lid after Cassius is done. Like Mustang, the little Gold came for me in case I needed him. He has no love for the man, no heart for someone who betrayed me in Victra. Loyalty is everything to him, and in his mind, Roque had none. So too with Mustang. Roque betrayed her as readily as he betrayed me. He cost her a father, and though she can understand Augustus was not the best of men, he was her father nonetheless. And yeah, it's just like really funny how much Darrow can understand where they're coming from here, but I get that it was in the moment, but it really feels like he's giving them a lot more grace than he's giving Victra about her opinion of Roque. And she was the one tortured for a year like you were, sir. So I feel like she should get more grace than anybody, My friends wait for me to say something. There's nothing I can say that will not anger them. So, as Mustang recommended, I spare them the indignity of having to listen to compliments about a man who signed their death warrants, and instead recite the most relevant lines of one of his old favorites. Fear no more the heat of the sun, nor the furious winter's rages. Thou thy worldly task hast done, home art gone, and ta'en thy wages. Golden lads and girls all must, as chimney sweepers, come to dust. There's a really lovely moment here where Mustang tells him that it's not his fault, and he starts to get angry. And then when he looks at her and sees that she isn't being like pushy. I don't really know the word, but it's clear it's coming from a place of deep compassion. It kind of like unwinds him a little bit, and he just starts sobbing, and she holds him. And I just really liked that moment of like her understanding what he's thinking and him not just blindly lashing out for her to leave him alone, like taking a moment and looking at her and understanding what she's attempting to do here. And it says Severo doesn't have much to say. He's been quiet since Victra left, something gnawing in the back of his mind. And there's like something going on with Severo and Victra, and I don't like, the two of them have just been, there's a moment later, I feel like, where he reacts weirdly to her. And I don't know what to think about what's going on there, you know? So Darrow's like, oh, let me go to sleep, but he can't sleep. And he winds up going to, or is he sleeping in? I'm trying to see. He's in a room that Roque had been in. And he basically like winds up going through the equivalent of his browser history. And he finds that a bunch of the things that he has watched were videos from when they were at the academy. And I was sort of thinking that maybe he was watching these for like ideas on tactics, trying to, understand his enemy, but maybe not. Maybe it is just a sort of like it's hard to say because I can't imagine being the kind of person who could watch videos of me having, I was going to say good times with my old friends, but I don't feel like this is necessarily good times, but you know what I'm saying? Like nostalgia. I don't feel like that person can coexist with handing them your best friend's dad's head in a box. Like, it's just him doing that. I just don't know how you like look past that, you guys. That shit was insane. That was just, you just don't come back from that. But Darrow has Cassius come and join him. And Holiday doesn't want to leave him alone with Cassius, but he insists. And they have a little bit of a chat about present styles and yada yada. And Cassius says, my father wasn't a solitary drinker, but sometimes I'd find him on his favorite bench near this eerie path on the spine of the Mons. He'd have a whiskey like this. Those were my favorite moments with him. No one else around, just eagles coasting in the distance. He'd tell me what sort of trees were on the hillside. He loved trees. He'd ramble on about what grew where and why and what birds liked to roost there, especially in winter. Something about how they looked in the cold. I never really listened to him. I wish I had. And I do like that, just this sort of open memory that is very vague, sharing this. It was sweet. And he thanks Darrow for letting him come to the funeral. And when Darrow says, you would have done the same, he's like, I don't know. I press play and we fall back into the boys we were in the Institute. It's awkward at first, but soon the whiskey dispels that and the laughs come easier. The silences stretch deeper. And I like that there are things in this that Darrow didn't even know about. Like there are moments that he wasn't around for that are just his friends. And there's a moment where he says something about kissing Quinn and that he wanted more than that, but she was not about to let that happen. Roque and Cassius try to catch fish together only for Quinn to push Cassius in from behind. He takes a deep drink beside me now as his younger self splashes in the water and tries to pull Quinn in. We watch private moments where Roque fell in love with Leah, where they scouted the highlands in the dark, their hands brushing innocently together as they stop for water. Fitchner surveying them from a copse of trees, taking notes on his datapad. We watch the first time they sleep snuggled under the same blankets in the gate's keep, and as Roque takes her off to the highlands to steal his first kiss, only to hear boots on rocks and see Antonia and Vixis emerge from the mist, eyes glowing with optics. They took Leah, and when Roque fought, threw him off a cliff. He broke his arm and was swept down the river. By the time he returned after 3 days of walking, I was supposedly dead by the jackal's hand. Roque mourned for me and visited the cairn I built atop Leah, only to find that wolves dug in and had stolen the body. He wept there by himself. Cassius grows somber witnessing this, reminding me of the distress on his face when he returned with Severo to discover what had happened to Leah and Roque, and perhaps feeling guilty for ever allying himself with Antonia. Which you should, sir. I don't think anybody would argue that. The one viewed most was the time Cassius said he'd found 2 new brothers and offered us places as lancers to House Bologna. I refill Cassius' tumbler. We killed him, he says after a moment. It was our war. Was it? I ask. We didn't make this world, and we're not even fighting for ourselves. How long do you think this goes on? Between us or everyone? Us. Till one heart beats no more, isn't that what you said? You remembered. And everyone? Until there are no colors. He laughs. Well, good, you've aimed low. If Augustus did not put me with Julian, what do you think would have happened? Doesn't matter. Say it does. I don't know, he says sharply. He downs his whiskey and pours himself another, surprisingly agile in his cuffs. He considers the glass in irritation. You and I aren't like Roque or Virginia. We're not nuanced creatures. All you have is thunder. All I have, lightning. Remember that dumb shit we used to say when we would paint our faces and ride about like idiots? It's the deep spine truth. We can only obey what we are. Without a storm, you and I were just men. But give us this, give us conflict. How we rattle and roar. You really think that's true, that we're stuck being one thing or another? You don't? Victor says that about herself. I'm betting a hell of a lot that she's not. That we're not. You know, Lorne always talked about being trapped by himself, by the choice he made, till it felt like he wasn't living his own life. Like something was behind him, beating him on, something to the sides, winnowing his path. In the end, all his love, all his kindness, family, it didn't matter. He died as he lived. You think you're going to die, he says. As Lorne used to say, the bill comes at the end, and the end is on its way. I never thought about the weight on you. All that time among us, years. You couldn't talk to anyone, could you? No, too risky. Kind of a conversation killer. Hello, I'm a red spy. He doesn't laugh. You still can't, and that's what kills you. You're among your own people, and you feel a stranger. There it is, I say, raising a glass. I hesitate, wondering how much to confide in him. Then whiskey talks for me. It's hard to talk to anyone. Everyone is so fragile. Severo with his father, with the weight of a people he hardly knows. Victor thinks she's wicked and keeps pretending like she just wants revenge, like she's full of poison. They think I know the path here, that I've had a vision of the future because of my wife. But I don't feel her like I used to, and Mustang, she's always watching me, judging, like she's keeping a tally of my worth, whether I'm fit. For her, for this, I don't know. I feel like I proved myself on the ice, but it hasn't gone away. It's the same for you, isn't it? Serving at the Sovereign's pleasure when Aja killed Quinn, your mother's expectations, sitting there with the man who took 2 brothers from you. And I just, like, this whole section, I'm not going to read the rest of it because I have done so much reading. But I really do love this, like, heart to heart. This is kind of what I have been, like, pining for. his relationship with Cassius is something that took on real dimension for me immediately. And having to kill Julius was so, like, it was such a huge thorn in his side. The tension that I felt, the way that they were friends so immediately, and how it could have been a different way. Things could have just, you know, I just, when the two of them were at odds with each other, it was really painful to read. And every time they encountered one another, I kept sort of hoping that there was going to be a bit of understanding, that eventually Cassius would come to a point where it was like, you didn't have a choice, and I understand that. But it never happened, and it doesn't happen here either. But it's as close as we're going to get, I feel like. Darrow says, like, he would bring Julian back as, like, if he could. And the best that we get from Cassius is, I wish it was easier to hate you. Before he parts with me that night, I give him a holocube to watch in his cell. I apologize in advance for its contents, but it's something he needs to see. The irony is not lost on him. He'll watch it later in his cell and will weep and feel lonelier still. But the truth is never easy. I was really, like, my first instinct with this was thinking that he gave him, like, footage of him and Julian. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, it just wouldn't make sense. I think maybe it's, like, footage of Severo admitting that he killed. Because, like, Cassius believes Darrow is the one that killed some of the children in his family, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what I believe is going on. But we don't find that out yet. So, last chapter, 51. I'm woken from a restless dream by Severo. He calls my datapad with an urgent message. Victra has engaged Antonia in the belt. She requests reinforcements, and Severo's already got his gear and has Holiday mustering a strike team. So they head out, and we go full burn, straining the ships to reach Victra. But an hour before we arrive at her coordinates, amidst a thicket of sensor-disturbing asteroids, we receive a brief encoded message that is patented Julii. Bitch captured, Cavex free, victory mine. I was so worried, you guys. I really was. Patented Julii. I was like, well, what if it's not her Julii, though? What if it's Antonia Julii? Like, I'm so used to fucking surprises in this story that I started to be like, uh-oh. But no, it's just what it sounds like. She invites them all on here, and Cavex has a cast on his arm. Mustang is so relieved. And I love when he says, I cannot stop being captured. Just a damsel in distress, Severo says. It seems the case, Cavex replied. Oh, God. I have someone who has been dying to see you, Mustang says. Pebble lets Sophocles go. Claws clatter behind me, then under me as he races through Severo's legs, almost knocking my friend down to jump onto Cavex's chest. Cavex kisses the fox with open mouth. Victra cringes. You guys, this is so heartwarming. There is nothing like the greeting of a dog. It's like, I love me cats. I love cats. You know that. But it's different. And there was a day where Owen took Pippin to the lake with him and his friend that were camping, and they were gone all day. All day. And it was lovely in a way, because if you have a dog, you know what I mean, that there's always something to be thinking about with them, taking them out, taking them for what, like, you're just managing them all day. And it was really nice to not have to do that. But when Pippin got home and saw me, he leaped like 10 feet straight from the door onto my lap and just lost it, like licking my face and freaking out. And it was so sweet because, like, even though it was sort of nice, I had missed him so much, and it was just like really great to feel like my dog missed me, you know? So let's see. I executed 3 and destroyed their ships as an example to the rest. The disloyal praetors, which I could capture, are rotting in cells. My loyalists and mother's friends have taken command. And they will follow us? Severo asks gruffly. They follow me, she says. That's not the same thing, I say. Obviously, they're my ships. Property is a funny thing these days, Severo says. Tends to have opinions. I think Severo means to say, now that you have your revenge, do you still intend to come with us to the core? I don't have my revenge, Victra says. Antonia still breathes. And when she does not, Victra shrugs. I'm not good with commitment. Severo's mood sours even more. Okay, so what's going on here, guys? Did he, like, try to get things to be more serious with her and she refused? Did he overhear what Roque said to her? Like, there's no way he could have, because they made sure to shut everything down, didn't they? Or no, that happened after. Maybe he did. But, like, it feels like there's something personal happening here. And Victra's distancing herself from Severo, and he is, like, really upset. I don't know. I don't know what to think here. So eventually he goes and sees Antonia. And he says, I want to know where the bloody damn nuclear weapons are. If you give me this, you live. If you do not, you die. Am I clear? Crystal clear. I'm more than willing to cooperate. You're a survivor, Antonia, but I wasn't just talking to you. I slammed my hand on the bars of the cell next to hers, where a shorter, dark-faced gold sits watching me with raw eyes. I'm talking to you too, Thistle. Whichever of you gives us more information gets to live. Devilish ultimatum, Antonia applauds from the ground. And you call yourself a red. I think you were more at home with us than you were with them. Isn't that right? It is, isn't it? And he starts to walk away. And Thistle yells, Darrow, tell Severo I'm sorry. And he stops, turns around, and comes back very slowly and comments about how she has dyed her hair and her eyes, artificially lightened. Little Bronzy just wanted to fit in, Antonia purrs. Don't blame the runt, unrealistic expectations. I'm sorry, Darrow. I didn't know it would go so far. I couldn't have... Yes, you did. You're not an idiot. And don't be pathetic and claim to be one. I understand how you could do it to me, but Severo was supposed to be there. So were the Howlers. How could you do that to him? To them? She has no answer. I touch her hair with my hand. We liked you the way you were. And that's the end of the chapter. So yeah, pretty brutal, guys. I'm kind of glad that we're having this moment with Thistle because her bailing really was a bummer, even though I didn't know her very well. It was just sort of the principle of the thing. So I'm looking forward to, like, seeing how that develops. I don't know if I believe Deborah's going to kill her or Antonia based on the information given. I feel like that sounds good, but I don't know that I buy it. I feel as if there's no real way to say that when he knows the whole thing depends on Victra killing Antonia for her revenge. Like, if Victra isn't willing to commit to their fleet unless they, like, if what I'm saying is holding on to Antonia would be the only way I can think of to sort of manage Victra and keep her well behaved. If you kill her and now she doesn't really seem to have a reason to, like, stand by you. But also, she talks a big talk sometimes. And saying, like, I'm not good with commitment, she may just be sort of trying to make herself sound a little bit more cavalier than she really feels. So, I don't know, guys. I don't know what to think on that. But I have to wrap this up. So these were good chapters, though. Really, really interested to see where we're going from here. Now that Roque is gone, I didn't expect him to be like taken out of the running so quick, but it's really starting to happen. All right, everybody. Thank you again so much for hanging out, for commissioning this, Ashley. Hope y'all are enjoying the coverage. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.